Hi, my name is Brian Payne. I'm part of the Diamond Protection training team. Today we're going to talk about how to inspect some of our height safety equipment, along with some of the characteristics we need to know when we're actually using these devices. We'll start off with our Type 2 fall arrest device. This Type 2 fall arrest device is also known as a SRL, self-retractable lanyard. In this particular device, it actually acts like a seatbelt, so it actually, orientation of it locks out like a seatbelt. Okay. It has a carabiner here. This particular carabiner is a triple action, so basically 3 different actions to open it up, and again self-closing. You ask yourself, how long do they last for? This particular one here and everything else in the industry is 10 years from the date of manufacture. Alright. It actually has a shrink wrap component. If that shrink wrap component is jeopardised in any way or damaged in any way, basically it's no good for use. If we think about the other end of the device itself, it has another triple action carabiner with a little keeper, which basically allows the actual webbing not to cross-load the carabiner in its working environment. Simply again by just triple action, so pushing it up, turning it and opening it. Again, one of those carabiners also known as a auto locker. If we move along to some of the other devices we've got here, if we look at our pole belt. So this particular pole belt is a work positioning device, which again your harness would have to accommodate for the side D-links. On both ends of this particular work positioning pole belt, it has 2 deliberate distinctive actions, self-closing, so again disengaging to engage the device itself, and again self-closing. If it doesn't self-close, it's not fit for use. Again, telco riggers, telecommunication people would use these on a fairly regular basis. What we need to consider is the lifespan, again 10 years, and again if we start to think about our devices, it actually has a date of manufacture, a serial number, and also a date of destroy. Because it has an extra bit of protection around the actual pole belt itself, when you are inspecting it, I would suggest that you would possibly remove that or slide it in such a fashion that you can actually inspect the whole entirety of the actual pole belt itself. The buckles, making sure that it's in good functional order and operating correctly, and again the stitching is in good condition and not teared in any way. Okay. Where the metal buckle actually attaches to the webbing, it's reinforced, so again that wear and tear constantly from the side to side and left and right and up and down. That's where you want to inspect, probably the first thing you want to look at, and make sure that there's no damage to the webbing itself. Okay. We move along to another piece of equipment, commonly known as a single shock absorber lanyard. Okay. You'd find these in an EWP, elevated work platform, knuckle boom, and also out in the industry, different applications. This device, I suppose again, the same characteristics of the pole belt, so 2 distinctive actions, self-closing, has a personal shock absorber in here. Okay, this shock absorber in this particular product here is rated at 100 kgs. Again, a lifespan of 10 years. If the shrink wrapping is jeopardised in any way, damaged in any way, it would be removed from service and would not be fit for service. Some of the things when we do inspect is making sure that that's in good integrity. There's no mildew or moss building up in there. No one's written their texture mark on our webbing or anything like that, because again acids and alkalines can affect the integrity of the webbing and stitching. If we, again, to comply with Australian New Zealand standards of 1891.1, this device obviously in its entirety, make sure the full length of it is actually 2 metres in length. Alright? If it's any longer than 2 metres, it doesn't comply with Australian standards. Alright? This particular device, the shock absorber, when it's fully extended, is 1.75. Move across to some of the other pieces of equipment, the hardware, we like to call it. Again, carabiners, but also bow shackles. Our bow shackle, this one in particular, is rated at 2 tonne. Some of the key characteristics of bow shackles, carabiners, that kind of thing, is the orientation of it. So if we were to load this particular bow shackle up, we would load it up basically with my 2 fingers up. Okay. If we were to side load it, obviously the stress and duress on this particular bow shackle would be on the bolt. We don't want any of that at all. Some of the other characteristics of this bow shackle is that we've actually got an R-pin or a split pin, so that holds the actual nut in place. So if we do have any vibrations, we'd obviously be able to stop that nut from unscrewing. Making sure the thread is in good working order, obviously bow and the bolt itself. Again, making sure that there's no excessive wear on that particular bow shackle, we're metal on metal, and it's in good working order, it's nice and clean, free of grease or any kind of nasties that may harm our webbing. So again, placing the bolt through, doing up the nut, right hand thread, and placing the R-pin back through there. Again, it's one of those key characteristics is making sure you've either got a split pin or an R-pin there. It's just to make sure that nut doesn't vibrate off. Something moving across to our harness. Now again, there's many different types of harnesses out there on the market. This one in particular is used for an auto picker. Again, fall arrest attachments are labelled the dorsal, the D-ring, which is basically the centre of the person's back, behind the back of the neck. This particular harness doesn't have work positioning side Ds on it, okay, so that's basically placed on the back within the shoulder blades. Ventral or sternum attachment, which is here, okay. So again, this particular harness has basically the minimum requirements for the Australian standards. Again, complies with some of the characteristics of Australian standards is the different colour stitching, the size of the webbing, the dimensions of the webbing, the structural integrity of it. Again, the leg straps obviously can be fully extended depending on the size of the person, and making sure that there's no nicks and cuts, frays or any scorching or any hot surfaces that have been attached to this particular harness. You ask yourself how long a harness lasts for? Well, it's a bit of a, I suppose, it's one of those questions that everyone doesn't really know. When I do teach a lot of height safety stuff, every harness must have a date of manufacture and obviously a date of destroy. Okay, so 10 years is the rule of thumb when it comes to your Australian New Zealand standard harnesses of 1891.1. Okay, again, it doesn't matter what make or brand. Today we don't have any. I don't have any favourite particular brand. Again, it's fit for purpose. Again, whatever horses for courses when it comes to your harness. Right? So again, different types of harnesses have different types of features. This one in particular is just a run-of-the-mill full rest harness. What we'll do is we'll talk about the twin-tail lanyards. This particular device is good for, I suppose, telecommunications, climbing steel towers. Again, two distinctive actions, so it complies with the 1891.1. The integrity, or I suppose the length of this particular device to again comply with a lanyard of some sort or full arrest, again has a distinctive 2 metres mean to end. That's inclusive of the personal shock absorber. Moving into their alloy. So alloy is good. Again, a soft metal. So if you're using on steel, that's where you're going to start to have fair wear and tear inside the hooks itself. Two distinctive actions. So again, making sure that we have two functions and not being able to open it out. Where the actual webbing meets the actual devices or the actual hardware, making sure that there's no excessive wear on those particular locations when you're inspecting. How long does it last for? Again, 10 years. All right. But it may not see 10 years depending on its work environment or working life. This particular Ergo Plus span set basically is rated 140 kgs, and you do get different types. This one's rated 100 kgs. All right. Again, the person's operating, you really need to think about the equipment and making sure it's fit for purpose and fit for the person who's actually using it. Again, shrink wrap, it's in good integrity, it's not broken, it's not stitched. In the wrong hands, obviously, it can be quite deadly. All right. That's pretty much it for today. Again, thank you for listening to and watching these particular videos. Hopefully you get something out of them. And further to that, we'll obviously be talking about the application of some of these devices later on. Again, thank you, and make sure you subscribe to Diamond Protection. Thank you.